Coming up on today's wrestling news, AEW signs a multi-year mega money TV deal.
Update on the AEW library going on HBO Max.
Shelton Benjamin is all elite.
And 2 scary injuries at the Ring of Honor taping.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And I'm Phil Chambers.
And this is the news.
Yeah, it is.
And look, where else to start? It broke last night, but we're here in the UK, so I was late to everything as usual. Us grubby aggregators are here with our version of the massive AEW TV deal news. It's been in the makings for ages and ages and ages. So
I feel
frankly,
like we've been speaking about this for a long ass time on these shows.
It's just nice to be able to speak the facts
Really
rather than, like, we've got the news, not the weather on this thing once and for all. There's loads of ways you can go and acquire this information, but we're going to go to the ever reliable Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp kind of collated all this information together, and he was at pains to put over Andrew Zarian for doing so much of the reporting, so we will do that at the top of all this, because here's a big info dump on all the things we think you need to know about this deal. So yes, AEW have signed a deal with WBD, as many had presumed was going to happen. Dynamite and Collision will continue in their existing spots on TBS and TNT, and will concurrently stream live on Max starting in January 2025. More on Max in a second. AEW pay-per-views will also be added to Max at a discounted rate later in 2025. So for right now, pay-per-views as is, but at some point or another you'll be able to get them through Max slightly cheaper than you would through, what is it now, through the button on the box, however the hell you might get.
I don't know how pay-per-views
2025, work. So yeah, Dynamite, again, all this is per Sean Ross Sapp and the various sort of other outlets that have reported the story. There was Variety, there was, I think, Hollywood Reporter, the Sporting Journal, loads of outlets are on this. But Dynamite and Collision will remain on Wednesday and Saturday, so no sort of schedule changes for now. AEW Rampage will no longer air on WBD. It was a show that they'd initially wanted all the way back in 2021, which seems like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it? But like in this new deal, it was Dynamite and Collision that were prioritised. Collision has become the number 2 in place of Rampage since that launched in 2023 until its biggest star left. Rampage could end up elsewhere. This is per WBD, but there's no mention of that yet, so that's a lot of people wondering if that's the end of Rampage. In terms of the financials, there are no official release of the details as of yet. They may not come, they're not obligated to, but Variety noted that it's likely to be near $150 million a year. Sports Business Journal had it at $170 million a year. Fightful Select, Sean was wanting to report, obviously, because they've been across this for so long, as you pointed out, that it was, quote, at least double what had been previously making, which would have had it in the 140, 150 range. But Dynamite's been underpaid. AEW have been underpaid for Dynamite since that 2020 deal. So we'll see, obviously, maybe down the line exactly where that figure sits specifically. AEW will continue to get pay-per-view revenue from the Max airings of the pay-per-view as well. And Sports Business Journal also were noting that, as had kind of been discussed previously, WBD does have an equity stake in AEW, and they have retained that stake as part of this new deal. Though AEW and WBD themselves have yet to outwardly confirm that. That's just something in the Sports Business Journal piece. PR companies also said they kind of weren't aware of that stake, but the fact that an outlet big enough is willing to report it suggests there's probably some smoke to that fire. Interestingly as well, just on sort of the back end of this, True TV and Ring of Honor weren't mentioned. Of course, Ring of Honor airs through Honor Club. They're obviously Ring of Honor tapings typically before most Dynamite or Collision tapings. Ring of Honor has been a part of the, I guess, like the Tony Khan wrestling empire since 2022. Ring of Honor pay-per-views air quarterly, but there is no mention of that yet. We have seen of late AEW add AEW to the branding of ROH, and many speculate there might be something within that.
Tony Khan did that interview that it was like to stand out on TV listings and things.
Yeah.
So it's like you recognise the AEW part of it. So
I guess
He was trying.
Yeah, I guess we'll see there. AEW Dark, of course, went away as sort of it kind of like seemed surplus to requirements, but under the new deal, AEW will retain the rights to Dark, and there is possibilities apparently due to discussions internally about something like that returning in the future. So there's a few unknown elements left because obviously the AEW package gets bigger.
Yeah.
But the big stuff, the headline shows, the pay-per-views, taken care of. They're in the money. Do for another 5 years.
Yes, absolutely great news. I'm just going to dive through my stuff and then we can get to speculating on the whole thing.
It's my favourite bit, this.
Yeah, but it's more about the HBO Max specifically, obviously. You just said that what did you just say? Pay-per-views are going to be on there as well. That's going to start late next year. They don't have a set date for it yet because they don't have the tech to actually make it happen yet.
Right, yeah.
So they are building that tech, and then it's going to be a big part of HBO Max in the future, and they'll do more things with pay-per-view. So it's like this is their tester for doing stuff like that in the future. So that's going to happen, and it's going to be at a discounted rate. It's not going to be free on HBO Max, but it will be cheaper than buying them anyway. But Dynamite and Collision, obviously airing on TNT and TBS, will be simulcast on HBO Max, so you will get that as part of your Max subscription as well. And that will start in January, supposedly. But then they also mentioned that the AEW library will also be on HBO Max. Now, the question surrounding this is when?
Yeah.
Not entirely sure. Obviously, I think a lot of this is still very new and they don't have set dates for any of these things yet. But you would imagine if they're going to start simulcasting in January, they're going to want the library up by January at the same time. But I mean, it's there, just upload it and get it out as quick as possible. Get on this while people are talking about it, as far as I'm concerned.
Totally, man. Like, we're 5 years in, obviously, to Dynamite as of last night's episode, which means there's 5 years of a Dynamite archive, 2 of a Collision one nearly, 18 months of a Collision one, and then all the years of pay-per-view since going back to, well, they've got the rights to all in 2018 now, but double or nothing in 2019. This is that kind of AEW network made real that really... Probably from about like the 2-year mark, people have been calling for that because Dynamite's not been the easiest thing to go back and rewatch through Fight. I think where a lot of the stuff has lived, or Triller as it's since been renamed. So the possibility of that being on the cards as part of this streaming deal, I think is like this real added. It's an extra thing.
100%,
from a fan point of view, we're not going to be seeing a penny of these rights for you. We're just glad to see AEW continuing to exist. But in terms of the thing we can actually touch and feel and enjoy, especially when WWE moves to Netflix and it's a little bit unclear what the Netflix version of the network will look like in your head.
How much of the network they're going to transfer over to Netflix.
Like, that's a lot to put behind that WWE button, isn't it, on Netflix? So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what that looks like. But certainly moving away from Peacock in America, moving away from our version of the network here in Europe and sort of other territories, it's a chance here for AEW to kind of like claim like that streaming archival sort of thing that WWE have had down pretty much since the launch of the network in 2014.
It's the one big thing that's been missing since the start of AEW. There's not been an easy way of going back and just rewatching old shows and stuff. And like you say, 5 years of content is a hell of a lot of stuff that you can offer up to a streaming platform and go, watch time! There you go, have some. And it's a huge added bonus to HBO Max. So I'm excited for all of this. Basically, the wrestling world is better with 2 hot companies, and when one's getting paid, the wrestlers are going to get more paid, everybody's going to get paid better, and it's just going to be better all around. So it's
both companies, both with like millions and billions in the bank on TV rights, both going to be running across streaming and cable because SmackDown's going to remain on USA, just as Dynamite and Collision are going to remain on TBS and TNT, and with muscle on 2 of the biggest streaming platforms. That's incredible, isn't it? Like, these are unprecedented times to be happening in North America. It's amazing. Get excited. January 2025 is when it all really, like, the next stage of everything kicks off, doesn't it?
It's good stuff. Exciting times.
You would be buzzing if you were Shelton Benjamin because he is all elite and he has got in at just the right time in AEW. He made his debut on AEW Dynamite last night in a backstage segment with MVP and Prince.
Lovely pop.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it? MVP and Prince Nana. This was building on from last week's interaction between the two, where MVP gave Nana his card to give to Swerve Strickland, and then the Sleuths did the zooming in and saw the Hurt Syndicate. That's built to the rumours that, we've all assumed that Bobby Lashley was coming in, sort of rebadged version of the Hurt Business. MVP would later also interact with Mercedes Moné, which is pretty thrilling to think about. Her as part of the group. But Fight for Select did follow through to note that Shelton Benjamin is all elite. This was not just a one-off appearance or a bit of a cameo or something like that. He is in. And I guess, like, a bit like last week, this is quite shrewd on behalf of AEW because what they're doing is showing you somebody brand new while, like, letting you in on a surprise that is yet to come. Like, I don't think I'm being nasty to an MVP or a Shelton Benjamin to say Bobby Lashley is like the star arrival we're all buzzing for, but these are effectively walking billboards for that moment.
You've got the bread of your sandwich, but now you need the filling. But this makes sense.
Sometimes I just like three. I've been known to put a piece of toast in a
You've
sandwich.
got your bread of your sandwich, and now you just need another layer of bread.
Can we get any more bread?
This is exciting. With the Hurt Business stuff, it's fascinating to see what they're going to be doing in AEW because it can't just stay as WWE Hurt Business like Shelton and Lashley and MVP. It's who they bring in from AEW into that as well. And like the potential of like a Mercedes Moné, the CEO of the Hurt Syndicate, would be
big, isn't
it writes itself. Basically, it's right there. But then who else could you bring in from AEW?
Opportunities. MVP is a talker for so many guys that have got nothing going on.
Exactly. And AEW loves a faction.
They surely do.
Sure do.
Oh my word! Yeah.
So very excited by this, and it's just nice to see Bobby Shelton Benjamin getting a good pop on TV and getting Getting his bank.
I was going to say, presumably getting his bag based on what a day to sign your contract. You got any money down the back of your sofa? We'll just come on, yeah. Well done, Shelton. Nice
Well
work.
done indeed.
Yeah.
But other not as good news, obviously, as Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah.
The Ring of Honor tapings that went on before Dynamite last night, there were two injuries where two people got stretchered out of the ring and the matches had to stop, which is obviously not great.
No.
So there's a few sources that have come from this, but obviously it's just fans in the building that are filming stuff. So I've got 2 tweets to read out from that. First one is from ARS_713 on Twitter, who says Lady Frost just injured her opponent in a really scary botch. What I would call an inverted black arrow straight on her opponent's head at the Ring of Honor tapings. But then the other one, in a different match, this one's coming from John Clark 12, who says, this is the second serious injury of the night. Just 4 matches in, Sammy Guevara hit a cutter out of midair and landed very awkwardly. Match immediately stopped, appears serious. He was fighting Serpentico, and it seemed like Serpentico kind of landed on his head in the middle of the cutter kind of thing, like a mistimed thing.
Yeah.
Meltzer has a sort of slight update on it. It's just a tweet from someone, and he says it's believed to be a concussion, but not confirmed. That's talking about the Sammy Guevara one, but no update on the other one, unfortunately. But like, as we say with any of these things, hopefully it's not too serious.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like, if it's a concussion or something, it's like, take the time, get better, and we'll be okay.
It's just never nice, is it?
It's just never nice, especially two stretcher incidents in one night. It's never a good start to an evening.
You're seeing 2 within the first 4 matches or whatever it is, and then it's, that's I've been in crowds where situations like that occur, and like, it does impact the vibe, doesn't it? And it's like, you've got a night of entertainment ahead, and you hate to see the ugliest reality of pro wrestling sort of playing out in front of you. So get well soon in both cases there. And to Braun Strowman as well, who we didn't get a chance to report it, but he did tear his groin. When he came back from commercial on Raw and he was noticeably limping. Yeah. It does appear that he's a torn groin, I think, was the injury. So like, to all wrestlers, thank you so much for your service. I am sorry that you endure those injuries, but thank you very much for risking those every single day.
You picked a very damn career path, but thank you very much for picking it.
All the fat cats that are going to get mega rich that we talked about in the first story. Look, Phil, before we close this video out, I just want to ask, like, if you're on like Netflix and you're on Max or something, you might want to kind of like click through and like watch another video after another video, but like we here are kind of got this nice relationship with a different streaming platform, the one that people are watching us right now. Like, how would you sort of encourage
biggest
people
streaming platform on TV, you might say. It's bigger than HBO Max and Netflix.
Biggest
I'm just saying, we're bigger than both WWE and AEW, and you can continue on your journey with the people bigger than, obviously, definitely. Look at our views compared to that. Right here.